Hello, my name's Lizzie. I'm Anglican, and in just under 5 weeks' time I'm going to be moving into a convent ready to become a postulant. I have just deactivated my Facebook page, which no one asked me to do. I wasn't told I had to do that as a postulant, and I don't have to do that as a postulant, but I've chosen to do that, and I'm really grateful that Facebook has an option for deactivate, which is different from delete, because I can always just kind of resurrect my Facebook. Restore, bad theology, if I wanted to return to it. But this video will talk about I'll just talk a bit about why I've chosen to deactivate my Facebook for now, and what I've been told and what I've picked up about Facebook and religious life.
I will hold your people in my heart.
Where do I begin? Let's see. So obviously Facebook is more new on the scene in the grand scheme of things, and I guess it's in recent years, or I don't know how many years, but in recent years religious communities have been getting themselves websites and Facebook pages, and one of my first videos on this channel was talking about how YouTube and Facebook and religious communities having websites was really helpful to me in my kind of discernment process. And although I'd read the Anglican Religious Life book pretty much back to back, and this community hadn't stood out to me for whatever reason, but for some reason it was in seeing their website and their Facebook page that kind of made all the difference in my particular journey. So quite a few religious communities do have their own Facebook pages now, which I explained in my other video why I find that particularly useful. So it's not like Facebook is something that's unknown to religious communities, but at the same time I have been told that most religious communities have a kind of let's say like rule book, or not quite constitution, more like kind of a set of guidelines for how to live within that community. But things like Facebook, because they're, and I guess things like WhatsApp and Skype and that kind of stuff, but because they're newer, my understanding is that quite a few communities might not have like set rules on these things, because maybe like needs a kind of period to work out how we're using these things and how to adjust before you can actually lay anything down. But also I'm pretty sure I heard one or two sisters say that in the community that I'm looking at, that as well as there being guidelines that I've been told, which I'll mention in a minute, I also got the impression that they wanted us to be treated like Christian adults, and give us the kind of, what's the word, freedom to think about these things and pray about these things for ourselves, and work out what boundaries we thought were right to set for ourselves, rather than being extremely prescriptive about how you use what devices or what internet communication. So that's the first thing. I emailed the community that I'm going to be moving into or doing a postulant period with, and asked them about Facebook, and the answer I got was that I wasn't going to be asked to delete my Facebook account or deactivate it, but the guidelines I was given was that not to post on my Facebook timeline once I was living in the community, but I could send occasional Facebook messages, I suppose just like you would do with email. So I think I'm right in saying that really what they were getting at was more one-to-one communication with individuals, rather than blanket like mass communication. So that they were the guidelines I was given, and there are sisters who have their own Facebook accounts, but I get the impression that the sisters that have Facebook accounts, for a start, that they're ones that are kind of fully professed, and also they are more work Facebook accounts, either to add things to the community's Facebook page or to interact with other ministries in the area, or priests or churches in the area. Like sometimes you need to be on Facebook in order to kind of interact with other people's Facebook pages, or see what they're putting on their Facebook for the sake of ministry. But those are I'm pretty sure that that's more kind of fully professed sister domain.
I care a lot about things like balance and like creating like good boundaries for things. So I've given these kind of things quite a lot of thought, and I love, as much, although I'm putting a lot of videos on this YouTube channel, I'm doing that because I felt, I've never really done YouTube videos before, but I felt God encouraging me to. So I'm doing this because I feel like I'm kind of being asked to almost. Whereas quite a lot of the time I'm really into things like digital detox and using the internet kind of as minimally as possible. And I have used Facebook lots in the past, and the internet a lot, or YouTube a lot. But at the same time, I'm not fussed to be without it. Like if I go away for a retreat, I might often, there have been times when I've just left my phone at home while I've gone to stay with nuns, or while I've gone to a silent retreat. I'm not even that bothered if my phone's not with me or anything like that. And so it doesn't really bother me to deactivate this Facebook account. Some of my closest friends are friends who are not on Facebook, and I don't know if this is because of that, but those particular friendships, I usually meet up with them on average like once or twice a year and just spend the whole day with them or something. And our friendship is somehow even deeper than a lot of my other friendships. And I find that I don't feel like I've missed out on anything by not sort of having Facebook updates from them. And we find that we can, all the important things we can easily catch up just by spending a day together once or twice a year. And when we're in person, it's just so much easier when you're in person to like catch up properly and have a proper conversation. And I've always preferred like face-to-face conversation anyway, for those kinds of reasons. So that even this last weekend, I spent the weekend with one of my best friends, and she's not on Facebook. And I was just thinking how, like she was saying, we just catch up where we left off, even if we haven't seen each other for about a year, and our friendship hasn't deteriorated. And yeah, Facebook hasn't, or lack of Facebook hasn't affected our relationship at all. So that has confirmed to me that nothing will be missing from my friendships if I'm not on Facebook. Obviously, another use of Facebook isn't just for friends, but is for like church activity, or like charities or organizations or social action or news or that kind of thing. But pretty much anything that I've been subscribed to via Facebook, or individuals like Pope Francis that I follow their Facebook posts, that there are almost always ways of following them by a website rather, or a newsletter or something. So I'm, again, hopefully I'm not going to be missing out on those by not being on Facebook. But I like, I've been a bit more frustrated with Facebook the last year or so, just because of obviously you can choose who you follow, and you can choose what you see as well, to a lot of degree. Like you can prioritize what you see and all that kind of thing. But it's quite a lot of information overload sometimes. So I quite like the idea of just sort of more proactively going to a particular website, or emailing a particular person if I want to find out what's been happening, or what they've got to say.
The main reason I chose to deactivate my account was more so that I'm like not tempted to go reading my Facebook too much, because my attitude towards this 6 months postulant period, I suppose, is a similar attitude to when I go away on retreat, and I want to be as focused as possible on God and what God's saying to me in that time. And for that reason, I've asked that the few friends that I've given a new email address that I've created to. I've asked them actually like not to contact me in those 6 months unless there's something like really kind of extremely significant, because in my mind this 6 month discernment period is the more I can focus on God in that time and transition into a different style of life, I think the better. And I guess having substantially less contact with my previous life or with friends will help that focus and that kind of transition.
All my
Yeah.
Facebook friends, but before I deactivated my account, I let my closest kind of inner circle friends know my new email address that I've set up, because as much as you, I can kind of not contact other people, but then the flip side of that is getting other people not to contact you. So I found it easiest just to create a new email address for a start, and like I said, I've actually specifically kind of asked my friends not to really use that email like much at all within this 6 month postulant period for the reasons I explained. But what I have done is, but before I deactivated this account, I made sure that they all knew the Facebook page of the religious community that I'm moving into, so that they can follow the community's Facebook page, which is a good direction to point them in. I think the main two things I'll miss from Facebook is more seeing people's photos. I've got a friend who's recovering from chemo, so it's been nice to watch like her hair grow back and things like that. And I've got friends with babies, and it's nice to see their the photographs of the children growing up. So I guess that's something that I'll miss. But like I said, I've chosen to do this, and I can still, there's nothing stopping me still like meeting up with them in the future. It's not like I'm completely cutting myself off from these people. And the other thing I'll miss, which might sound really odd, but I'm sure Facebook, you know, where you write your status, like you write your post, I'm sure it used to say like Lizzie is ... and then you'd fill out whatever you wanted to say, and I don't know when it changed, but I'm pretty sure recently it now says Lizzie, how are you feeling? And that suddenly just like jumped out to me the other day, because when I was at St. Bino's and learning more about Ignatian spirituality, how you're feeling was that was recommended to us as quite a good starting place for prayer, like both in the morning and in the evening, or whatever time you've chosen to pray. But to start with, how am I? Well, start with thank you and awareness of God's presence, obviously. But towards the beginning of your prayers, to think about how you're feeling and to talk to God about how you're feeling, and then to try and articulate what your deepest desire is at that moment, or to ask for, or to try and discern what's the grace that I'd like to ask for at the moment. I found being told that by the Jesuits really helpful. That really helped my prayer. But it was just really funny that every time I went to go on Facebook and saw that in the status bar, it reminded me of that approach to prayer that I was taught by the Jesuits. So that's a bit of a random thing, but I'll miss that little kind of reminder. Anyway, that's all I can think of to say on the subject. I don't know if this video has been really boring, but if you were just wondering about this whole topic, I hope it's answered a few questions for you.